theme for the year is You Are Worthy of Abundance. This year is going to be all about healing my relationship with generosity and abundance. My theme for the year really stemmed from the realization that I had that I don't receive very graciously at all. When someone tries to do something nice for me, I'd often decline as my first response, and I might even decline several times until they insist on doing something nice for me, and then I would receive very awkwardly. Not only that though, I would feel really uncomfortable internally, and I would also make a mental note that I would have to treat them next time or do something nice for them or pay them back in some way. So that is a really strange mental model to have when someone does something nice for you, is to automatically feel either guilty or uncomfortable or beholden. I have a feeling this started in my childhood when I used to watch my dad fight to pay for the bill at restaurants and refuse to be treated. I think this happens in a lot of traditional Chinese households where when the bill comes at restaurants, everyone fights over the bill, everyone wants to pay it. It's a prolonged and heated exchange, and I watched that multiple times growing up. But there's also a part of me that wonders, is it also because I don't feel like I'm worthy of someone's generosity? What happens to me as a person, or what effect does it have on me if I keep refusing generosity or turning away from abundance or feeling guilty when abundance shows up in my life? That repeated pattern must be doing something to my feeling of worthiness, and that is something I'd like to try to figure out in 2024. I want to fully immerse myself in the theme, You Are Worthy of Abundance, and I'm not only referring to abundance in terms of money and gifts. In the past, I've had a pattern of expressing my generosity through monetary gifts or other gifts in general that are bought with money, and I want to take a more expansive view this year. I want to look at different forms of generosity. Maybe this is generosity of time. Maybe this is just thinking of someone and sending them a quick message. Maybe it is treating someone to something, but maybe it could be something small rather than being overly lavish or extravagant. I'm sure there are many other forms of generosity and abundance, but I have trouble thinking of them. So I don't think I've given very good examples, but in 2024, I'd like to really work on shifting my mindset in terms of receiving abundance and generosity with grace, and also expanding my definition of abundance and generosity in general. Now, I have set 5 specific goals for the year in addition to my theme. Now, these goals aren't necessarily directly related to my theme, but these are things that I want to accomplish in 2024, and I give myself the entire year to do this. I do like to spend the first week or 2 of January honing in on what exactly I want to do this year, because I find that once the new year passes, I get a sense of clarity. I had posted my goals as I thought they would be on New Year's Day, and after reflecting for the week, I did make a few tweaks, both to the wording and to 1 or 2 of the goals themselves. My number 1 goal this year is to complete my Authenblissity reset. This is basically going through the book that I wrote and released last year, and I've already done 2 chapters because I started in November, and I've got 10 chapters to go, so that'll take me from January to October, and I should be done by November. There are a couple of reasons why I want to do this Authenblissity reset. The first is that I wrote the book, I'm really proud of it, and one of the things I was really excited to do when I released the book was to go through it as a reader and film all kinds of videos about the exercises and such, so that is what I'm doing. The second reason I wanted to do an Authenblissity reset is because I feel like I'm a different person now. I left my full-time job over 5 years ago, but I still have some lingering mental models that are a carryover from my days in the corporate world. These are things like scarcity, fear, competition, urgency, perfectionism, and I really want to continue to work on letting these things go. I've come a long way, but of course, these things are also prevalent around me, not just within me. So I'm hoping to examine a lot of that and also shed a lot of that during my Authenblissity reset. The next 4 goals that I'm going to talk about are all things that I really want to do this year, but one thing that I don't want to do this year is a big project. I am all big projected out because the book took 3 full years working on it every day to complete. And now I just want to take a breather, open the door to new creative ideas and possibilities, and not be so hyper-focused on meeting one huge goal. So I've got 4 more things that came up for me as things that I really, really want to do in different aspects of ordinary life. Goals 2 to 5 fall into this category. So goal number 2 is to nix my caffeine dependency. I was drinking caffeine every day, not a whole lot of caffeine and not even coffee really. I mostly drink tea, but I'm actually really sensitive to caffeine, so it's very easy for me to overdo it. Over the holidays, I overdid it at least a couple of times and I felt really unwell because of it. I got jitters and heart palpitations and I just didn't like the way I was feeling. That was when I decided that this caffeine dependency was going to end in 2024. So I'm actually on my 4th day being caffeine free. I was not intending to quit cold turkey per se, but because I drink so little caffeine, I basically drink 16 ounces of a very weak tea in the morning. And on January 1st, because I woke up late, I had my caffeine a little later in the day, so I was starting to get that caffeine withdrawal headache anyway. Since I already had a little bit of a headache, I decided to jump right in, and now I am on my 4th day, because I'm filming on January the 5th, of no caffeine. I don't feel great, I'm not gonna lie, because I do still have a headache, so this is my 5th day of having a headache in the new year, but I'm very optimistic that the days where I feel really, really good are yet to come. So I'm going to continue on this path of just not having caffeine for the next little while. I'm not intending to cut it out completely. I just want to get to a point where I'm not drinking caffeine every day, and I also want to have it at the most 2 or 3 times a week. I was really only drinking caffeine because I was afraid to get the caffeine withdrawal headache. I don't want to be making decisions from a place of fear. I want to drink a caffeinated drink because I want to, not because I'm afraid of what might happen if I don't. My 3rd goal is a bucket list item, and I have a very tame bucket list. If you watched my Vlogmas, you know this, and that is to complete my 5,000 piece puzzle. I have started already. I started on January 2nd and it is taking a very, very long time. I love puzzles, but this one is a challenge. There have been times where I'm like, maybe I should just give up, but I'm not going to give up because I want to do this puzzle. It has been overwhelming at times, but most of all, it's a lot of fun and I actually look forward to doing it every single day. This is something on my list that I am sure to complete, and also on my bucket list, but I might not do it this year, is a 9,000 piece puzzle. My 4th goal relates to creativity, and that is to continue with my monthly sticker collages. I started this a little over a year ago, but I did do monthly collages every month last year, and I want to continue this practice. I'm still kind of honing in on my style for these sticker collages, but right now they're a combination of stickers, random ephemera that I have lying around, little cutout things and things that I want to remember. And I'm also experimenting with incorporating a little bit of calligraphy or using words to better remember what some of these stickers are, because I'm not buying new stickers or buying a whole bunch of new things for these collages. I'm really trying to use up what I have. Sometimes the stickers that I have don't necessarily align with what I want to remember. They're not a great trigger for my memory, so I need to add in a few words here and there to jog my memory, to be like, oh right, I put the sticker here because of this. That is quite a constraint, using what you have, but it's a constraint that I love working with. The 5th and final goal on my list before I get into some of my practices is to track my alcohol consumption in terms of how many days a year I drink. I'm not necessarily tracking the amount because I really don't binge drink anymore. When I'm at home, I might have 1 drink. If I go out, I might have 1 or 2, because I have noticed that if I have more than 2 or 3 drinks, I don't feel good, and the next day I also don't feel good. So I don't want to do that to myself. I want to try my best to feel as good as I can. The actual goal here is to track my alcohol consumption, but I also want to do a video on this topic and also look into it a little more in terms of reading books and listening to podcasts and things. I'm not committing to a life of sobriety. I still do enjoy the occasional drink, but I'm very, very sober curious, so I'm going to follow that and see where it takes me. Now let's talk about some practices that I plan to experiment with in 2024. I used to have things like this under the goals section, but I found it easier to split them out into their own section because these are things that I really do like to experiment with for the whole year. And then at the end of the year, I decide whether I want to continue with it or to let it go. And sometimes I will let things go in the middle of the year if they aren't working for me. So my first practice is to complete my daily reflection. And my daily reflection isn't new, but I change up the question every year. And this year, the question I'm going to ask myself is a two-parter, and it ties in very nicely with my annual theme. At the end of each day, I'm going to jot down a few notes on this two-part question. How did you express your generosity today, and how did you receive abundance graciously today? I had to play around with the wording a lot. I still don't know if it's quite right. I've been tweaking the wording as I've been doing my journal entries every day, and I think I've landed at a place where I'm pretty happy with it, but it is a little bit more lengthy and awkward in terms of phrasing compared to previous years, so maybe I'll tweak this further. I'm not too sure yet. I'm going to continue with it, but it'll be along the same theme of giving generously and receiving graciously. My second practice is to listen to music every day. This was actually a practice that I tweaked from last year. I think last year I had the practice incorporate more music into my life, but this year I want to consciously turn on some music every single day because it helps my mood so much. I've been really enjoying listening to music while cooking or cleaning, and I've been gravitating toward upbeat music, so I've been doing a little bit of dancing, which is a lot of fun. I just want to continue this in 2024. It puts a huge smile on my face, even if I'm feeling anxious or stressed out or angry or a little bit sad. The music always helps, so I'm going to continue with that in 2024. My third practice is a little bit less concrete. It's a hard one to explain, but that is to be fully intentional in my everyday decisions. All the decisions about the everyday things, all of those chapters in my book, food, money, media, etc. I want to be very intentional when I decide to do something. I've got a couple of examples that might make this a bit more concrete, but I'm going to think of other ideas as the year continues and as I continue with my Authenblissity reset. So the first example I have is my longstanding issue where I like to stock up on food when it's on sale. This inevitably means that there is some waste because food does go bad. Even if it's non-perishable, it can go stale. I'd rather buy a little less and use it sooner. But first, because I hate wasting food, I have to use up the things that I have. In my pantry video, one of you gave me the idea to leave something that I want to use up on my counter. I played with that idea and I decided to have a use next basket where I put in a few items that I might want to cook or eat next that's from my pantry from maybe a long time ago or something that's been opened and forgotten about. I started this towards the end of December. I think it was like New Year's Eve I started this, and it's been working so well. So I had that dehydrated white fungus from my pantry video that I've been wanting to use up for many years, and it just keeps getting relegated to the back of the pantry. I finally used it up and it was delicious. But next time, rather than storing something like that for many years, I'm gonna buy it when I'm about to use it, especially something like that, which is such a specialty item. It's not something like spaghetti, which I like to always have on hand. So that's one example. The second example is that for the past several years, my 101 in 1001 list, which is a list of things that I want to do in the next 2 or 3 years, that list has always included an item that relates to the number of books I want to read. So on my current list, it's read 50 books. So that's 50 books in the span of 2 to 3 years, 2.7 years if you want to be precise. That's very doable for me. I did meet it in the current list, but I don't want to keep track of the number of books that I read anymore. Instead, I want to be more intentional with the books I read, and I want to list out the specific titles that I want to read. So I'm thinking I'll have up to a handful of titles, so up to 5 titles on my list that I plan to read, and I'm not going to add to that until I finish those books. Right now I have 4 books on the list, and I've left the 5th slot open in case something comes up that catches my curiosity and I want to add it to the list. If you want to see what books are on the list, I will leave a link to my blog post down below. That is going to be it for my 2024 theme, goals, and practices. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have any goals that you're working on right now, or if you have a theme or word of the year that you want to share, please leave that down below. I would love to hear some of those. If you haven't set goals already and you want to, you can really set goals at any time of the year. The new year is just an arbitrary date. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll be back very soon with another video. Until then, please take care, and bye for now.